Have you ever lain awake, heart pounding, wrestling with the sting of your child pulling away? Their silence a wall you can't break, their absence a wound you can't heal? You've begged for their call, ached for their visit, poured years into shaping their world, only to watch them drift, cold and distant, leaving you clutching at shadows of what you thought you'd earned. No fight cuts deeper than this. Explaining yourself to deaf ears, waiting for a love they won't return. Watching your sacrifices fade into a void that echoes back nothing but your own tired breath. You're drained, frayed, trapped in a war against a reality that won't bend, asking why me, while the quiet grows louder. But what if this battle isn't your ruin? What if it's your release? Stoic wisdom cuts through the noise. Suffering doesn't come from their rejection, but from the chains you've wrapped around it, the desperate grip on a script they'll never follow. Epictetus carved it clear. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their no isn't yours to fix, it's theirs to carry, and letting it go doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've stepped into the let them theory, not apathy, but a soft, steady power, focusing only on what's yours, your mind, your peace, your path. When they turn away, let them. When they forget, let them. A Stoic doesn't chase ghosts or beg for echoes. They stand tall, unshaken, free. Marcus Aurelius whispered, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Their rejection isn't your end, it's your doorway. A chance to shed the weight of expectation, to cradle your own quiet joy, to live for the dawn you still hold. We're unfolding 14 gentle, hopeful ways this no becomes your blessing, turning a jagged hurt into a healing balm. If their distance has left you raw, this is your soft shore. Like if it stings too close, share this with someone lost in the same ache. Sub to Victory Stoic for more light through the fog, and drop "I let them go" in the comments to claim your calm. Their rejection isn't your cage, let it be, and rise free. Number 1. We suffer because we expect too much. Imagine this. James, a hard-working and reliable employee, has spent months going the extra mile at work. He stays late, helps his coworkers, and always meets deadlines. When promotion season arrives, he expects recognition. Surely, his boss will reward his dedication. But the announcement comes, and the promotion goes to someone else. Someone who, in James's eyes, barely put in half the effort he did. His stomach tightens, frustration builds, and resentment takes over. How is this fair? He asks himself. James's suffering doesn't stem from the event itself. It stems from his expectation that things would play out a certain way. He believed that effort would automatically lead to reward, that fairness was guaranteed, and that people around him would acknowledge his value. But reality doesn't work that way. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus wrote, "It is not things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those things." In other words, it's not what happens to us that causes suffering, but rather our interpretation of it. James believed he deserved the promotion, but that belief was an illusion, one that made him feel like life had wronged him. The truth is, people are unpredictable, workplaces are political, and fairness is not a universal law. Expecting life to conform to a specific script is like expecting the ocean to remain still, an impossible demand that only leads to frustration. The problem with expectations are like invisible contracts we create in our minds. Contracts that the world never agreed to. We expect loyalty from friends, love from partners, and recognition from bosses. When these expectations are met, we feel satisfied. But when they are not, we feel betrayed, disappointed, or even devastated. Think of it like going to a restaurant, ordering a meal, and expecting the chef to prepare it exactly as you imagined, without ever telling them your preferences. When the dish arrives and isn't what you pictured, you feel frustrated. But whose fault is it? The chef's for making the dish as they saw fit, or yours for assuming they would read your mind? In life, people act based on their own motives, not based on what we expect of them. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength does not come from demanding that life be fair or that people behave how we want. Strength comes from adapting, adjusting, and understanding that we are not entitled to a world that meets our expectations. How to free yourself from the burden of expectations. 1. Expect nothing. Appreciate everything. Instead of assuming others will act a certain way, be open to whatever happens. If a friend cancels plans, don't take it personally. Maybe they had a rough day. If your hard work isn't acknowledged, focus on the value of self-discipline rather than external validation. 2. Separate effort from outcome. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you'll get what you want. Detach from results and focus on the process. Hard work is valuable in itself, even if it doesn't lead to immediate rewards. 3. Observe, don't assume. When you expect someone to act a certain way, you are imposing your perspective onto them. Instead, practice the Stoic principle of apatheia, a calm acceptance of life as it is, not as you wish it to be. James eventually learned this lesson. Instead of dwelling on the unfairness of his situation, he adjusted his mindset. He stopped expecting promotions to come when he wanted them and focused on refining his skills. A year later, when another opportunity arose, he was better prepared, and this time he earned the role without resentment clouding his achievement. Expect less, accept more, and watch how your suffering fades. Let go of the need for the world to match your script. Number 2. We suffer because we think we can change others. Michael had been in a relationship with Sarah for 3 years. He loved her, but there was always one thing that bothered him: her tendency to shut down emotionally during conflicts. Whenever they argued, she withdrew, refused to talk, and left him feeling unheard. Michael believed that if he just explained things better, showed more patience, or proved how much he cared, she would eventually change. So, he tried everything. He sent long messages, asked deep questions, encouraged her to open up. But no matter what he did, Sarah remained the same. Frustration turned into resentment. Why won't she change, he thought. Doesn't she see that I'm trying to help us? This is one of the greatest illusions we cling to, the idea that we can make people change. We convince ourselves that if we just say the right words, do the right things, or show enough love, they will transform into who we want them to be. But people do not change because we want them to. They change only when they decide to, when they see the need, and when they feel ready. No amount of logic, love, or effort can force someone to become what they are not yet willing to become. Epictetus said, "If someone is unwilling to accept what is true, you cannot force them to see it. You can offer wisdom, but you cannot make someone listen. You can show love, but you cannot force someone to receive it in the way you expect. You can set an example, but you cannot dictate someone's journey." When we refuse to accept this reality, we suffer. We become frustrated when our partner refuses to change, when a friend continues to make bad decisions, when a family member clings to toxic habits. We pour energy into trying to fix them, but the more we push, the more resistance we face. The problem is that we confuse influence with control. Yes, we can inspire people, we can encourage them, but at the end of the day, their choices are theirs alone. Trying to force change is like pulling on a flower's petals, hoping to make it bloom faster. It doesn't work, and in the process, we risk damaging what was naturally unfolding. Michael eventually realized this painful truth. One day, after another silent treatment from Sarah, he stopped trying to fix the situation. Instead of demanding change, he observed. He accepted that this was who she was. He had 2 choices: love her as she was, or walk away. There was no in-between. Acceptance, he learned, was the key to peace. The moment you stop trying to change others, you free yourself. You stop wasting energy on battles that are not yours to fight. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's willingness to improve. Instead, you shift your focus inward to your own growth, your own peace, and your own ability to let go. People change when they choose to, not when you want them to. Let them. Let go, and move forward. Number 3, we suffer because we tie our self-worth to how others treat us. Emma always prided herself on being kind, thoughtful, and dependable. She was the type of person who always remembered birthdays, checked in on friends when they were struggling, and went out of her way to make others feel valued. She believed that if she treated people well, they would treat her the same. But life didn't always work that way. Friends forgot her birthday. Some only reached out when they needed something. Others drifted away without explanation. Each time this happened, Emma felt an ache deep inside. Did I do something wrong? Am I not good enough? Do people not value me? This is the trap so many of us fall into. We base our self-worth on how others treat us. If people are kind to us, we feel worthy. If they ignore us, reject us, or mistreat us, we start questioning our value. But the reality is, how others behave is a reflection of them, not of us. A person's kindness, respect, or attention is not a measure of your worth. It's a measure of their character, their priorities, and their own internal world. Epictetus warned against this fragile sense of identity when he said, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in matters that are not your concern." What people think of you, how they treat you, these are not things within your control, and attaching your worth to them only sets you up for pain. If a friend ignores your messages, it doesn't mean you are unworthy of friendship. If someone breaks up with you, it doesn't mean you are not lovable. If a boss overlooks your efforts, it doesn't mean you lack value. It simply means they made a choice, for reasons that have more to do with them than with you. Think of it like a mirror. If someone holds up a cracked mirror in front of you, the reflection will be distorted. But that doesn't mean your face is broken. It only means the mirror is flawed. In the same way, if someone treats you poorly, it doesn't mean you are lacking. It only means they are reflecting their own limitations, wounds, or indifference. Emma eventually realized this. She stopped measuring her worth by how much others appreciated her and started valuing herself from within. She continued being kind, but not because she expected anything in return. She did it because it aligned with who she was. She stopped chasing people who didn't value her, and instead, she focused on the ones who did. And most importantly, she learned that her worth was never something for others to decide. The moment you detach your self-worth from the behavior of others, you become unshakable. You stop taking things personally. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot give it. And you finally understand that your value is not in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. Let them. Let go, and stand firm in your worth. Number 4, the let them theory. The art of letting go for inner peace. If someone doesn't respect you, let them leave. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but why is it so difficult for us to accept? Lisa had always been the kind of person who gave people the benefit of the doubt. When a friend canceled plans last minute, she brushed it off. When a coworker took credit for her idea, she let it slide. When her boyfriend consistently disregarded her feelings, she convinced herself he would change. She told herself that if she was more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, they would eventually see her worth. But the more she tolerated, the more she felt disrespected. The more she held on, the more exhausted she became. The reality is, people show us who they are through their actions, not their words. If someone consistently disregards your feelings, takes advantage of your kindness, or treats you as an afterthought, they are telling you something loud and clear. They do not value you the way you deserve to be valued. The question is, will you listen, or will you keep holding on, hoping they'll become someone they've already shown you they are not? The Stoics believe that suffering comes from attachment to people, to expectations, to the way we think things should be. Epictetus reminds us, if someone does not treat you with respect, remember that it is their failing, not yours. It is not your job to make people appreciate you. It is not your responsibility to convince someone to treat you better. It is your responsibility to recognize when someone has shown you who they truly are and act accordingly. Letting go does not mean you are weak. It means you refuse to beg for basic decency. It means you understand that respect is not something you have to fight for. It is the bare minimum. If someone doesn't see your value, let them. If someone chooses to walk away, let them. If someone treats you as an option, let them. Stop chasing, stop explaining, stop forcing. The people who are meant for you will never have to be convinced to respect you. Lisa eventually learned this lesson. The moment she stopped making excuses for those who mistreated her, she found peace. She let go of the friends who only reached out when they needed something. She stopped overextending herself for people who wouldn't do the same. And most importantly, she realized that the ones who truly valued her never needed to be begged to stay. Number 5. If someone chooses to leave, let them go. Jacob thought he had finally found the one. Olivia was charming, beautiful, and had a laugh that made his heart skip a beat. They spent weekends exploring new coffee shops, debating which movie deserved an Oscar, and making plans for the future. At least he thought they were making plans for the future. Because one day, completely out of the blue, or so it seemed to him, Olivia sat across from him at their favorite cafe, sighed dramatically, and delivered the classic, soul-crushing line, "I just feel like I need to find myself." Jacob blinked. "Find yourself? We literally just had brunch yesterday." "You were right there." But before he could launch into a heartfelt speech about commitment and working through things together, Olivia was already talking about energy shifts and how she just wasn't feeling aligned anymore. And just like that, she was gone, off to presumably find herself, probably in a yoga retreat, a spontaneous trip to Bali, or the arms of a guy named Chad. Jacob was devastated. He replayed every moment of their relationship, searching for signs he might have missed. He analyzed every text, every conversation, wondering if he had done something wrong. His friends told him, "She wasn't right for you." His mom said, "It's her loss." But Jacob didn't want logic, he wanted answers. Then, one night, while doom-scrolling through motivational quotes, he came across something from Marcus Aurelius. "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs." That was the gut punch he needed. Because the truth was, Olivia had already made her choice. She left, and no amount of overanalyzing, texting, or proving his worth would change that. His suffering wasn't coming from her departure, it was coming from his refusal to accept it. The Stoics understood that attachment to what has already gone is one of the greatest sources of human suffering. We believe that if we try hard enough, if we explain things the right way, if we just do more, we can convince someone to stay. But people are not puzzle pieces to be forced into place. If someone wants to leave, it means their role in your life is over. Or at least, it should be. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you accept, the more peace you gain. So if someone decides they no longer want to be in your life, let them. If they suddenly need to find themselves, let them. If they say they're not ready for commitment, believe them and move on. Stop running after people who have already walked away. If they wanted to stay, they would, and the ones meant to stay, they will never need convincing. Jacob eventually stopped checking Olivia's social media for signs of regret. He stopped imagining dramatic reunion scenes. Instead, he focused on what he could control, his own happiness, his own growth, and his own ability to let go. And one day, when he heard she had in fact found herself in Bali, and also found a new boyfriend named Chad, he just laughed. Not bitterly, not regretfully, just laughed. Because finally, he got it. Number 6. If someone doesn't believe in you, let them have a dream. Ever since he was a kid, he wanted to start his own business. A small coffee shop that didn't just serve coffee, but created a space where people could unwind, have meaningful conversations, and escape from the chaos of life. He spent years saving up, researching the best beans, perfecting his craft. When he finally shared his plan with his friends and family, expecting support, what he got instead was skepticism. "Are you sure about this? The market is tough. Most businesses fail in the first year. You know that, right? Why don't you just stick to your stable job? It's safer." Even his best friend Ryan, who had always been his go-to guy for encouragement, sighed and said, "Man, you don't know anything about running a business. This is a bad idea." For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was just chasing an illusion. Maybe he should just accept his 9-to-5 and let the dream die quietly. But then he remembered something he had read from Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Ethan realized something important. Just because others don't see the vision doesn't mean the vision isn't real. The fact that they didn't believe in him didn't mean he wasn't capable. It only meant they were viewing his dreams through the lens of their own fears, limitations, and past failures. This is where so many people get stuck. They let the doubts of others become their own. They start second-guessing themselves because someone else couldn't see what they see. But the truth is, not everyone will understand your path, because it's not theirs to walk. If someone doesn't believe in you, it has nothing to do with your potential, and everything to do with their perception. Epictetus taught, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Many people are so trapped in their own doubts and experiences that they assume what's impossible for them is also impossible for you. But their disbelief is not your burden to carry. Ethan didn't argue. He didn't try to convince anyone. He simply let them think whatever they wanted while he kept moving forward. He opened his cafe, faced struggles, made mistakes, and learned. And years later, when that same best friend Ryan came to him and said, "Dude, I was wrong. This place is amazing. You really did it," Ethan just smiled. Because by then, he didn't need the validation anymore. If someone doesn't believe in you, let them. If they say you can't do it, let them. If they think your dreams are unrealistic, let them. Stop explaining, stop seeking approval. Prove them wrong by succeeding. Or better yet, prove to yourself that their belief was never necessary in the first place. Number 7, if someone judges you, let them talk. Megan had always been afraid of what people thought of her. She would spend hours overanalyzing her words after a conversation, wondering if she had said something wrong. She hesitated before posting anything online, afraid of judgment. When she finally decided to quit her corporate job and pursue her passion for writing, the criticism came flooding in. "You're throwing away a stable career for a pipe dream? Do you really think anyone cares what you have to say? There are a million writers out there. What makes you so special?" The worst part? Some of these comments came from her own family and friends. At first, Megan felt hurt. She wanted to defend herself, explain her dreams, make them understand. But then she came across a quote from Epictetus. "If someone speaks badly of you, do not defend yourself against the accusations, but reply, 'You obviously do not know all my faults, otherwise you would have mentioned others as well.'" That's when it hit her. People will always have opinions, but their opinions are not her reality. She could spend her life trying to explain herself, to win their approval, to convince them she was making the right choice. Or she could simply let them talk. The truth is, judgment is inevitable. No matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. If you play it safe, they'll call you boring. If you take risks, they'll say you're reckless. If you succeed, they'll say you got lucky. If you fail, they'll say they told you so. You can't win in their eyes, so why try? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. People's words only have power if you let them. Their judgment can only hurt you if you believe it to be true. Megan stopped explaining. She stopped justifying. She let them say whatever they wanted, while she kept writing, kept growing, and kept proving to herself, not to them, that she was on the right path. And in time, she realized something freeing. The less she cared about their opinions, the more confident she became. So if someone judges you, let them talk. If they criticize your choices, let them talk. If they spread rumors, misunderstand you, or look down on you, let them talk. Your life is yours to live, not theirs to approve. Keep moving forward, and let your success make the only statement that matters. Number 8. If someone doesn't appreciate you, don't force them to change. Daniel was always the one who put in the effort. In friendships, relationships, even at work. He was the person who remembered birthdays, checked in when people were struggling, and made sure everyone felt valued. But over time, he started to notice a pattern. The people he cared about didn't always return the same energy. Friends took days to reply to his messages. His girlfriend rarely acknowledged the small things he did to make her happy. His boss barely noticed his hard work, but always had time to criticize minor mistakes. For a while, Daniel told himself it was just how people were. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they didn't realize how much effort he was putting in. So he kept trying harder, thinking that if he just did more, they would finally appreciate him. But the more he gave, the more drained he felt. One day, after his girlfriend forgot an important milestone in their relationship, one he had gone out of his way to make special, he finally understood. You cannot force someone to appreciate what they refuse to see. The Stoics taught that we suffer when we try to control what is not ours to control. Epictetus said, when someone acts badly toward you, consider what view of good or evil led him to act that way. Once you understand that, you will feel compassion rather than anger. In other words, people act based on their own values, priorities, and awareness, not based on what we think they should value. Daniel realized that the problem wasn't that he wasn't good enough. It was that he was offering his energy to the wrong people. True appreciation doesn't have to be begged for. When someone values you, it's obvious. And when they don't, no amount of effort will change that. So instead of demanding appreciation, let them be who they are. If they fail to see your worth, let them. If they take you for granted, let them. Stop explaining, stop chasing, and stop convincing. The right people won't need reminders to appreciate you. The wrong ones will never see your value until it's too late. Let them. Let go, and walk away with your dignity intact. Number 9. The benefits of applying the let them theory. You will feel lighter. No more carrying the burden of control. One of the biggest sources of stress and frustration in life comes from trying to control what is not ours to control. How people think, how they behave, how they respond to us. The truth is, the more we try to manage others, the more drained we become. The more we expect people to act a certain way, the more disappointed we are when they don't. This constant effort to shape the world according to our expectations creates a heavy emotional burden that we carry every day, often without realizing it. When you embrace the let them theory, you free yourself from this unnecessary weight. You stop trying to convince people to stay in your life when they want to leave. You stop demanding respect from those who refuse to give it. You stop expecting validation from people who never truly valued you in the first place. Instead of feeling frustrated, betrayed, or confused, you simply allow them to be who they are. You no longer waste time arguing, explaining, or overanalyzing situations that are out of your control. You accept that people have their own motives, their own limitations, and their own paths to walk. Letting go does not mean you don't care. It means you refuse to spend your energy on things that drain you. It means you recognize that not everything requires a reaction, not every battle is worth fighting, and not every person deserves a place in your life. It means you stop asking, why don't they treat me better? And instead you say, it doesn't matter. I choose peace. The moment you adopt this mindset, something shifts. The tension you've carried in your mind and body starts to ease. The stress of constantly monitoring people's behaviors and reactions fades away. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself, to seek approval, or to force situations that aren't meant for you. Your mind becomes quieter, your emotions more stable, and your sense of self stronger. You realize that your peace was never dependent on how others treated you. It was always in your hands. When you stop trying to control others, you also gain something even more valuable: freedom. Freedom from overthinking, from resentment, from disappointment. You begin to focus on the things that truly matter: your own growth, your own happiness, your own inner strength. You start to live for yourself, not for how others perceive you. And in that shift, life feels lighter, simpler, and far more peaceful. Not everyone will respect you, believe in you, or value you. Let them. Not everyone will stay. Let them. Not everything will go according to plan. Let it. The moment you stop resisting what is, you open yourself up to something far greater: unshakable inner peace. Number 10. Let them. So you can fully enjoy life. Most people spend an incredible amount of time and energy worrying about how others perceive them. They replay conversations in their heads, overanalyze someone's tone in a text message, or stress about whether they made the right impression. They adjust their behavior to fit expectations, hold back their true thoughts to avoid judgment, and waste time wondering why someone treated them a certain way. But what if all of that was unnecessary? What if you could just let them think what they want, do what they want, and say what they want, without it affecting your peace? When you constantly seek validation from others, you give them control over your happiness. If they approve of you, you feel good. If they ignore you, criticize you, or misunderstand you, you feel insecure, frustrated, or rejected. This emotional roller coaster takes away your ability to truly enjoy life. Instead of being present in the moment, you're stuck inside your own head, worrying about things that are completely out of your hands. But when you apply the let them theory, everything changes. You stop wasting time trying to win over people who don't see your value. You stop chasing friendships, love, or approval that should come naturally. You stop shaping your actions around how others might react. Instead, you start focusing on what actually matters: your own experiences, your own passions, and the things that bring you joy. Imagine the freedom of simply being yourself, without caring how others interpret it. Imagine going to a party without worrying if people like you, posting online without obsessing over likes, speaking your mind without fear of judgment. Imagine enjoying a beautiful day without checking your phone for someone's response, or laughing loudly without wondering if others think you're too much. This is what true presence feels like. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." What would happen if you reversed this? What if, instead of trying to please the world, you focused on living fully for yourself? The more you let go of what others think, the more space you create for peace, happiness, and authenticity. You begin to fill your life with experiences that actually matter, rather than exhausting yourself trying to be someone you're not. You stop feeling responsible for how people react, and instead, you live boldly, freely, and without hesitation. Some people will misunderstand you, let them. Some will judge you, let them. Some will walk away, let them. None of it should stop you from enjoying the life you were meant to live. Let them. Let go. And finally, start living. Number 11, you become stronger when you realize you don't need validation. So many people go through life waiting for permission to feel worthy. They look to others for approval, for reassurance, for proof that they are enough. They shape their decisions based on what will be praised, not what feels right. They hesitate to take risks because they fear judgment. They stay in relationships, friendships, and environments that drain them, simply because they're afraid of what it means to walk away. But here's the truth. The moment you stop needing validation, you become unstoppable. The Stoics understood that self-worth should never depend on external approval. Epictetus said, "If you are ever tempted to look outside for approval, you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own." Strength comes from within. You don't need people to clap for you before you pursue your goals. You don't need constant reassurance to know your value. You don't need validation to confirm what you already know. You are enough, exactly as you are. When you embrace the let them theory, you stop waiting for others to make you feel valuable. You stop bending over backward to gain acceptance. You stop seeking permission to be yourself. You simply decide that you are worthy, and that decision alone makes you powerful. Number 12, you attract the right people. When you stop clinging to the wrong ones. Desperation repels. Confidence attracts. When you chase after people who don't value you, you send a message to them and to yourself that you believe you are not enough. You settle for breadcrumbs of attention, for one-sided effort, for relationships where you are tolerated rather than celebrated. And as long as you keep holding on, you make no space for the right people to enter your life. But the moment you let them go, everything shifts. You stop forcing connections that aren't meant for you. You stop over-explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop clinging to people who have already made it clear that they don't appreciate you. And in doing so, you create space. Space for genuine connections, for people who see your worth without being convinced, for relationships that flow effortlessly instead of being forced. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you constantly seek validation from the wrong people, you will always feel unworthy. But if you hold yourself to a higher standard, if you walk away from anyone who treats you as an afterthought, you will attract those who recognize your value without question. The right people will never need to be begged to respect you. The right relationships will never leave you guessing your worth. But you will never find them if you are too busy clinging to the wrong ones. So let them go. Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Because the ones who truly belong in your life will never require you to beg for a seat at the table. Number 13, 3 ways to apply the let them theory for a more peaceful life. 1. Detach from negative emotions. Detachment. One of the biggest reasons we suffer is because we let external events dictate our inner peace. We take things personally, overthink situations, and allow others' actions to affect our mood. But when you practice detachment, you stop letting things outside of your control consume your energy. If you weren't invited to an event, let them decide who they want to spend time with. If someone talks negatively about you, let them waste their breath. You know your truth. If a person doesn't appreciate your presence, let them live without it. Instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back and ask yourself, does this really affect my life? Or is it just my ego making it seem important? The less you try to control how others act, the more peace you will find within yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over things that were never yours to fix in the first place. 2. Let others face their own consequences. Let them fail and grow. It's natural to want to help the people you care about. You remind them of their responsibilities, cover for their mistakes, and try to prevent them from failing. But in doing so, you often rob them of the lessons they need to learn. If your child forgets their lunch, let them go hungry once, they'll remember next time. If your coworker constantly procrastinates, let them deal with the missed deadlines. They'll either step up or face the consequences. If a friend makes a poor decision despite your advice, let them experience the result. They'll either grow from it or repeat the cycle. Failure is a powerful teacher, and growth comes from struggle. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show a person's character. So when trouble comes, think, this is my test." The same applies to others. Let them face their own tests. Your role is not to carry them through life, it's to let them walk their own path. 3. Let people be who they are. Acceptance over control. One of the greatest causes of frustration is wishing people would be different. We want our partners to change, our friends to think like us, and our family members to behave a certain way. But trying to reshape someone into your ideal version of them only leads to disappointment. If your partner isn't affectionate, let them express love in their own way, or accept that they may never change. If your spouse doesn't like working out, let them live with that choice. You can't force motivation. If someone's personality doesn't align with what you want, let them be themselves. Either embrace them for who they are or walk away. Epictetus reminds us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Stop holding on to the illusion that people should meet your expectations. Accept them as they are, or step away. But don't waste energy trying to mold them into something they are not. Number 14. When should you not apply the let them theory? While the let them theory teaches us to release control over others and stop forcing situations, there are moments when detachment is not the right approach. Letting go does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated, exploited, or ignoring situations where intervention is necessary. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, but that includes protecting ourselves and taking a stand when needed. Here are 3 key situations where letting them is not an option. 1. When someone is engaging in dangerous behavior. There are times when walking away isn't just careless, it's irresponsible. If someone you know is about to engage in behavior that puts their life or others in danger, staying silent is not an act of wisdom, but of neglect. If a friend is about to drive under the influence, you don't simply let them. If a loved one is making harmful choices that could seriously damage their health, well-being, or safety, you have a moral obligation to intervene. Stoicism is not about indifference, it is about discernment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." We are interconnected, and sometimes that means stepping in when someone is incapable of making rational decisions for themselves. Number 2. When someone violates your rights or disrespects your boundaries. Letting things go doesn't mean letting yourself be walked over. If someone disrespects you, disregards your rights, or takes advantage of your kindness, letting them is not the answer. Setting firm boundaries is. If your employer refuses to fairly compensate you, you don't simply let them underpay you, you negotiate. If a friend or partner constantly disregards your feelings, you don't silently accept it. You communicate and, if necessary, walk away. Epictetus reminds us, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Strength in Stoicism is about self-respect. Tolerating disrespect, abuse, or exploitation is not Stoic acceptance. It is a lack of self-worth. You do not need to control others, but you must take control of how you allow yourself to be treated. Number 3. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, forgiveness and patience are virtues, but they should not come at the cost of your own dignity. If someone consistently disregards your limits, refuses to respect your time, or manipulates your kindness, letting them continue is not wisdom. It is self-betrayal. A single mistake can be overlooked, but a pattern of behavior must be addressed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you." This does not mean revenge in the traditional sense, but rather refusing to stoop to their level. You do not need to argue, seek approval, or explain yourself repeatedly. You simply enforce your boundaries, and if necessary, remove yourself from the situation entirely. The lesson: letting go is not the same as being passive. The let them theory is about freedom, not submission. You let people live as they choose, but you do not allow them to violate your safety, dignity, or well-being. You are not responsible for controlling others, but you are responsible for protecting yourself. Letting go means knowing what to walk away from, but also knowing when to stand your ground. Let them be who they are, but do not let them compromise who you are. Let them. Let go. But when necessary, take a stand. Conclusion: let them, and reclaim your peace. Happiness does not come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. The more you try to change people, force outcomes, or demand validation, the more exhausted and disappointed you become. But the moment you stop expecting others to be different, you free yourself. You stop wasting energy on battles that aren't yours to fight. You stop tying your self-worth to the opinions and actions of others. You stop suffering over things beyond your control. When you allow people to take responsibility for their own choices, you also liberate yourself. You no longer carry the weight of fixing, convincing, or saving anyone. You understand that growth is a personal journey, one that cannot be forced. And when you stop trying to reshape people into the version you wish they were, you finally see them for who they truly are. The ones who truly value you will never need to be convinced to respect, appreciate, or stay in your life. At Victory Stoic, we believe that true strength comes from self-mastery, not from controlling others. The let them theory is not about indifference, it is about freedom. It is about choosing peace over frustration, acceptance over resistance, and wisdom over control. So, are you ready to stop forcing, chasing, and explaining? Are you ready to reclaim your energy, your time, and your inner peace? Let them. Let go, and move forward. Drop a comment below with "let them" if you're committed to living with strength, wisdom, and peace. And share your story. What's the hardest thing you've had to let go of? Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic for more insights on resilience, self-mastery, and Stoic wisdom. Thank you for watching, and remember, true power lies in letting go. Let them.